Okay, today we are playing a game on King's Row. We are playing Moira the entire way through, and this was a quick play game, so SR doesn't really exist here. Also, we don't care about our team comp because it's a quick play game, suffice to say it's terrible. Unsurprisingly, it's a quick play game, seeing as Moira only just came out in competitive, and also she's hard to play, so most people are not really prepared to play her yet. So we're going to talk about Moira right now. So, Moira is also hard to play, which will put people off. So, right out of the gate, one thing, inefficient use of resource, because this is like, Moira is the only hero in the game who really has to worry about resource management. Kinda Reinhardt, but like not really, like Moira it's like a thing, because she's got 9 seconds total on her healing resource. Baseline takes 45 seconds to refill from empty to full, and then it's accelerated by doing damage. But the point is, we want to be efficient with it because otherwise we can't heal. If we fuck up with it, we kinda can't do our job. So here's the thing. Moira's left click has kind of, it's like a hidden effect. It's not immediately apparent the heal does this. After you've healed someone, it has a lingering heal over time effect even if after you've stopped healing them. Once you stop healing them, it does 50 healing over 3 seconds. So, if somebody's only taken a bit of damage, you can just, like, sprinkle them for half a second, and they'll still recover 50 HP over the next 3 seconds. So, that's important to know that it does that, because that's, like, when you're healing up just, like, from poke and all that, that's what you'll want to do. You don't want to just, like, hold the beam over somebody unless, like, they need the healing right now. Like, everybody here hasn't actually taken that much damage, so we can just kind of, like, sprinkle them, and they're fine. So here, we throw the healing orb. And this is gonna be one of the biggest things that Moira players struggle with. It's like, which orb should I use? Well, don't worry. In a rare moment of professionalism, I prepared a visual guide to illustrate which orb you should be using, which we'll go to now. As you can see, in Figure A, Exhibit 1, the damage orb is significantly better than the healing orb. And here's why. So, here's how the orbs function as well, because this is not immediately apparent either. Their duration is 10 seconds, which is the same as its cooldown, or until they have completely expended their damage or healing. The damage orb does 200 damage at 50 damage per second. Once it does 200 damage, it's gone. The healing orb does 300 healing at 75 per second. Once it does 300 healing, it's gone. So here's the thing. If you do 200 damage as Moira, you get 10% ult charge. So if you throw the damage orb at them, and you get the full damage out of it, which is not that hard, assuming you throw it well, you get 10% ult charge. So every 10 seconds rather, you can just get 10% ult charge. That's insane. The healing orb is not actually that helpful, except in a few circumstances. The most obvious one is you're dueling one person, or maybe you're fighting, like, 2 people. Like, you're in a duel, basically. Because then you throw the healing orb, and, like, you throw it in a way that it's gonna linger near you, because, like, geometry does come into this, because they bounce forever as well. Like, if most people are gonna, like, throw it at their feet, that's gonna fuck up, because it's just gonna go into the sky and not heal you right afterwards. You actually want to throw it at, like, walls, so that it stays around you. But the best use for the healing orb is you're fighting somebody, you throw it out of the wall, suddenly you're healing because that's healing you at 75 per second, and you're draining, which is another 33 per second off of them. It's suddenly, in the middle of this duel, you start healing at a rate of 100 per second. You suddenly just can't really die unless the person is, like, really good. And they have to be playing a certain type of hero as well. They have to be playing, like, a hero that can do enough damage physically to kill you. Like, D.Va is trying to kill you. She has to be fucking amazing to kill you through that. She can eat your orb as well, but, like, most D.Vas don't actually do that. They're just kind of focused on shooting you. So that's the best use for the healing orb. Sometimes throwing it into a middle of a team fight can be helpful, but honestly, if you're in the middle of a team fight, hopefully you have Coalescence, because, like, her ultimate is, like, what you want to be using in the middle of a team fight. You don't want to be relying on your healing orb. So basically the point of this whole thing is throw your damage orb out on cooldown so that you can get more ult charge faster. Like, this is part of the reason why Moira's ultimate can charge up so fast, is just throwing these out. And, like, what if I suddenly need the healing from the healing orb? You probably won't. Like, you probably won't. because your left click does a lot of healing to other people, and if you're in trouble, it's okay, because you've got Fade, which is the best movement ability in the entire game. That's what I'm going to say, it's the best movement ability in the entire game. Why is that? Well, first off, it's got 6-second cooldown, which is insane. Like, if you know about anything about Winston, 6-second cooldown on a movement ability is insanely strong. But it lasts for almost a second. It lasts for like 0.8 seconds, during which time you're invisible and you're invulnerable, and you go pretty far, actually, because you're moving really fast during it. And you're invisible, so they won't keep track of you. It's an insane ability. And like, you can do like fade jumping as well, which is like, you use it to cover like a lot of distance very quickly, or you can like use it to like get up ledges and stuff. There are other people that can explain fade jumping better than me. I would advise looking that one up. And there's like compilations out there that are like all the best fade jumping locations and things like that. You should look it up if you're interested. Cause like, I'll butcher the explanation on that one. So like, fade is a fantastic cooldown. If you get in trouble, you can just use fade to escape, right? Plus you've got your own healing from the right click. If somebody else is in trouble, your left click should be enough. If it wasn't, they were probably fucked regardless. The healing orb was probably not going to be the thing that saved them. So, the moral is, just throw the damage orb out on cooldown. You should almost never be punished for it. Maybe in like 5% of situations you'll get punished for it. You should never get punished for it, and it will just help you build up your ult charge very quickly. Because it's very easy to get the full 200 damage out of it, assuming you throw it well. Because that's the thing, most people don't throw it well. Because like, the basic gist is you want it to linger near the enemy team as much as possible. We know roughly where they're going to be lingering. Like, even just imagine you're defending this map. You can throw it here and, like, have it bounce between these two walls a dozen times. It'll get the duration out. You can just throw it out, like, at this side of the bus and have it, like, bounce off this wall, off the bus, and then it'll kind of go off wherever. By that point, it's probably gotten the 200 damage off, just from hitting most of their team. Like, it's really easy to get the 200 damage out, even on a relatively open map, assuming you just, like, do the geometry associated with it. So that was a really long tangent about the orbs, but like, I think it's very important to illustrate why the damage orb is better than the healing orb, basically. So, here we use Fade to go forward aggressively, which is not that bad, because it does have a very low cooldown. You do have to be careful, still. Like, you don't want to fade, like, directly into the enemy team, because you'll die, but like, you can fade forward aggressively and not get overly punished for it in most cases. So, general thing with the orbs, try not to throw them up or down, because that's going to really fuck with the geometry. Because basically the one thing we don't want to have happen is for the orb to start going up. Because that's the way it's going to not do the full duration. You want to keep it like horizontal, because then it will just bounce around the room. If you throw it up or down, it can very easily just, well, if you throw it down, it's just going to go straight up. If you throw it up at the wrong angle, it'll go down, then it'll go up into space. And that's how you don't get the full duration off of it. You want to try and keep it relatively horizontal. This is why, if you played Ana, that's going to ruin you. Because, like, you're going to be in the middle of a duel, and your instinct is going to be throw grenade at feet, and you're going to throw the healing orb at your feet, and you're going to watch the healing orb just fly away from you. And I know that's what's going to happen, because that's what I've done. Yeah, that's real sad. Don't throw it at your feet if you're dueling someone, because that's how you get sad. So here's the thing with what we're doing right now. So we're low HP right now. Fade is up. We are going forward still. We shouldn't be going forward right now, because we're really low. We had Fade up. We can just leave at any point during this, because it has a 6-second cooldown. It's basically always up. And we're still going into them. This is the other big thing that Moira players are going to struggle with, especially if you were a support player before this, because Moira is an aggressive hero, which no other support is, really, except Lucio, but Lucio is not aggressive in the same way as Moira. Because here's the thing with Moira. I know this is like a lot of tangents, like right at the start, but like Moira's a new hero, so I'm trying to be relatively thorough. So, Moira wants to be at the front line, not the back line. Now, there's an important distinction here. Moira doesn't want to be the front line. She wants to be with the front line. Which basically just means you always want the tank between you and the enemy. Because if being the front line is being the Reinhardt or the Winston or the Diva or whatever. Being with the front line is being near them, but behind them. You always want the tank between you and the enemy still. But like, Moira wants to be up with people. Like, she is an aggressive support. She has to do damage, or she can't do her healing, because it's just not, you can't heal off of the regen on the resource alone. You have to do damage. Also important, the orb does not refill, doesn't heal you, and it doesn't refill your gauge either. It's just the right click that heals you, and that is also the only thing that refills your resource as well. Also important because a lot of people think the E heals you and recharges your resource. Does not do that. So you have to be with the front line, fighting people and like still healing people. Like Moira has a lot of things to keep track of also. We could have survived that because you're invulnerable while you're in Fade. So if you get stuck, you just survive because you just fade. You're gone for almost an entire second. It's not actually that strict of a timing. Like you shouldn't die to that. You should always be able to survive. Also, Earth Shatter, you see it coming, Fade. Doesn't matter if it hits you while you're in Fade, you're invulnerable. You won't get knocked down. Get caught in the Graviton, you can fade out of it because you're invulnerable while you're using Fade. So you just leave. Same reason that Orisa can leave Graviton, because she's immune to CC while she's using Fortify, so she can just walk out of it. Moira's Fade is the same principle, but it's like invulnerability. So like Fade, you can dodge a lot of ultimates with it. Really strong. Diva ultimate, you can dodge that just by being in Fade while it explodes. The timing on that one's a little harder, but like, you got almost a full second in Fade. Like, it's not that hard. If anything's gonna get nerfed about Moira, I think it's gonna be Fade. I think it'll get its duration, its cooldown increased. Because it's really strong. Like, that, it is the strongest movement ability in the game, as far as I'm concerned. So we shouldn't die to that. So we have Coalescence built up right now. Front line, right, so you want to be with the front line. Because most people I've seen so far play way too passively as Moira. You've got to be aggressive, you've got to be prepared to fight people, you got to be like up with your front line, ready to fight people. You don't have to be like super close to them, because the range on your right click is 20 meters, which is really far. But like, you have to be with your front line, ready to fight people. And like, here's the thing, right, so it's easier to position in the backline because you can keep track of more areas. And you've got like a lot more people between you and them. So it's easier to position in the back line than it is in the front line. You basically have to keep track of more moving parts. Like awareness is better in the front line because you have to actually like look around to get the full picture of what's happening in the fight. And you also just have to know when too much pressure is coming and when to fall back, basically. Because this is the biggest difference between front line and back line. If pressure gets to you on the back line, you can't really retreat. Like, you don't really need to retreat in most cases, because the whole point of being far back is it's hard for them to get to you. So it's harder for them to pressure you. So generally, you have to do less retreating in the back line. And if you're being pressured, it's usually only like one or two people are on you, and you can probably just like fend them off, especially if your team is ready to help you. Whereas in the front line, you have to know pressure is coming, so you have to feel the pressure, and then you have to actually retreat backwards. This is the biggest difference, is like, you have to be ready and know when to give up space. So, that's like the biggest differences between frontline and backline, which is important because like, if you were already a support player, or you played like longer range heroes like Soldier or Zenyatta, and now you want to play Moira, you have to play a lot more aggressively. It's very different. The biggest difference is just you have to look around more, and when you feel pressured, you have to just start backing up. Because now you're trying to occupy space. So when you can't occupy that space anymore, you have to recognize you can't, and you have to actually give it up and fall back. And those are like the biggest, that's like the issue people are going to have with Moira. It's going to be, they're going to undervalue their damage orbs, and they're going to not know how to position, because you have to position aggressive, and you're going to get killed. Like you're going to die. If you played other supports, or you played longer range heroes, and now you're trying to play Moira, you're gonna get killed. Like, it's gonna happen. Because now suddenly you have to position completely differently, and it's way easier to get punished on the front line as well if you overstep your boundaries. Like, you're gonna die. Just be real with you, you're gonna die. And you're just gonna have to take your lumps, really, unfortunately. Like, if this is like a completely different way to position for you, you're gonna get killed. It's just that you're gonna have to learn from the mistakes. You're gonna, alright, I was playing a little too aggressively right there, next time I'll dial it back. And you're gonna die. And on Moira, you're gonna fuck up. She's a hard hero to play. So, like, you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna die, but, like, you just kinda have to bear it. You have to just, like, take your lumps and, like, learn how to position, basically. Cause, you know, I can tell you this, but at the end of the day, you have to actually be in the situation and recognize it and then actually react accordingly. And that just kind of takes practice. So, You're gonna die. Just gonna warn you now. You're gonna try and play Moira. You're gonna die. It's gonna feel really bad. You're just gonna have to, like, get through it. And eventually, you're gonna figure out how to do it. Because eventually, like, positioning after a, like, you can give someone guidelines. But sooner or later, it does just kind of have to come down to trial and error and having died enough times that you know when you've overstepped. And now, I won't do that one again. It's not really the answer anyone wants to hear, but, like, it's just kind of how it is, unfortunately, at the same time. So also other thing about Moira's ability is beams. Everything goes through shields except her right click. So, like, you don't have to worry about Coalescence getting stopped by shields. You don't have to worry about, being unable to heal someone because a shield is in the way. Left click goes through a shield. It's not an issue. The right click is the only thing that doesn't go through shields. This is the reason why Winston is better against Moira than D.Va is. Because a D.Va fighting a Moira is, like, not going to kill the Moira unless she's really good, right? Whereas a Winston who's fighting a Moira actually has a chance because the Moira, right click doesn't go through her shields. As long as you just shield dance at least okay, Moira isn't going to heal off of you while you're fighting her. So you actually have a realistic chance of killing Moira as Winston. You do as D.Va, but, like, not really. So, right here, they're mostly dead at this point because they overstepped. We had our ultimate, we killed a bunch of people. They, like, overextended, so they're going to die. So here we're going to get into a fight with this Winston. He is basically by himself, so it's not a super huge issue. Here, there's no reason we should have died, because Fade actually comes up right here. And we could have just faded right after it comes on cooldown to get away. Real low cooldown. You have to actually, like, be aware that it's coming off of cooldown so that you can actually use it. Also, Moira is a hero that can get gold damage and gold healing. Part of that's throwing out damage orbs all the time. And you might say to yourself, well, isn't a hero that can get gold healing and gold damage kind of overpowered? I actually think Moira is, like, one of the best balanced heroes in the entire game. And here's why, right? Here comes another tangent. Good heavens. It's a quick play game, alright? Look. It's gonna happen. So, Moira, I've yet to play a game where Moira feels completely overpowering, right? And people are gonna get better, like, she's a new hero, so, like, maybe this will change. Like, I've yet to play a game where Moira felt completely overpowering. If you compare Moira to when Anna was at the peak of her power, before any nerfs happened, Anna felt overpowering. She felt oppressive, and, like, she dictated the flow of every game. Because she did. Because she just did so much, and she was so easy to play. That's the pivotal thing here, right? When Anna was at her strongest, she was really easy to play. Because her ultimate had a speed boost. You just nano boosted Reinhardt, you nano boosted the Reaper, they killed the enemy team. Unless the enemy Anna dealt with it with her sleep dart. So, like, she was really strong. She was really easy to play. Her grenade was fucking overpowered. She, like, shut out Winston because he didn't heal properly if the grenade was on him, like, during his ultimate. Like, Anna was really easy to play when she was really strong. Moira's hard to play. That's the important thing. Moira can do a lot, but I think the difference between a really good Moira and a really bad Moira is going to be very apparent. But here's also, like, what the biggest reason that I think Moira is totally fine, right? And I'm going to draw a comparison to a different hero to illustrate this point. Sombra is the most broken, overpowered hero in this entire game by a mile. But she's also the hardest hero to play in this entire game by a mile. So it's not an issue. It's not an issue that Sombra's really overpowered. Because you have to be really good to be able to abuse that. Most people aren't, so it's not an issue. Moira's really strong, but Moira's hard to play. So I think Moira's actually really well balanced. If anything, if anything's gonna get nerfed, I think it's gonna be Fade. Cause, like, that's the thing I can point to very easily and go, that's really strong. It's really hard to point at another area of Moira and go, that's broken. You have to just kind of, like, point vaguely, like, she can get 2 damage and healing medals. That's, like, not okay. Well, why though? She's still hard to play. Like, a bad Moira is not gonna get both of those. Right? So, like, that's not really good to point. Like, maybe you can point at a right click and go, like, 20 meters is too far, but at the same time, like, it only does 50 damage per second. Like, it's really hard to die to a right click, like, straight up. So, like, that's not really an issue. The only thing I can really point to on Moira and go, that's perhaps too strong, is Fade. Cause, like, it's really fucking good. No other one point on Moira I can point to and go, that's overpowered. So I actually think Moira's really well balanced. So I hope she doesn't get any adjustments. If anything, I'll concede Fade is perhaps too strong, and that should be adjusted. Other than that, I think Moira's really good. I think she's really well balanced. So, we have faded forward aggressively, which is, again, not really an issue. This is a situation where we might consider throwing the healing orb at the wall next to us, because it kind of looks like Winston might go in on us, and, like, this is an area where the healing orb can just bounce back and forth between the walls, and will always be touching us. But he kind of just, like, gives up on it, so it's, like, not an issue. Now we're getting really fucked with, so we try to fade away, but, like, this is, again, a quick play game, so, like, they're fighting us outside our spawn right now, and it's kind of, like, working, which is not okay, but it's a quick play game. This is also why I'm not so bothered about these, like, really huge tangents, because it's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna look back at the game now, and what are we gonna see? We're gonna see people getting smacked around by things they shouldn't get smacked around with. So now we're going to use Coalescence, because, like, some of them are dead, and Coalescence is an ultimate that you can just kind of, like, use whenever you get it, more or less. Like, not quite, but, like, there are a lot of situations you can just use it. You can just, like, use it to go in, like, right there. Would not use the healing orb here. Again, we throw it down, so it's starting to just, like, float up into the sky. At this point, you could just, like, throw the damage orb into this fight to, like, try and finish off the people that are running around, because, like, we're not feeling pressured. Our team, we can just heal them if we have to. Anna's still alive as well right now, so, like, we could have just thrown the damage orb during this fight instead, and, use it to finish people off. Here we just, like, throw the healing orb at him. This is important to know, also. This is, like, not really a tip or a thing, it's just important to, like, know the ability works this way, because it might fuck you up otherwise. If you're holding down one of your beams and you push the orb button, it will just immediately throw out whichever orb is attached to that. So, like, you're holding down the damage beam, you want to throw out an orb, you just push the button while you're holding down the beam, just immediately throws out a damage beam. You're holding down the healing beam, push the button, suddenly it just immediately throws out the healing beam. So, that's not really a tip or anything, it's just kind of important to know it works that way so that you don't, like, accidentally throw out the wrong orb, because I can definitely imagine situations being in, like, healing somebody, but I want to throw a damage orb, but if I just keep healing, I just immediately throw out a healing orb. So you kind of, like, stop the orb if you want to stop the beam, if you want to throw out the different orb. It's just kind of, like, I kind of wish it didn't work that way, because that's the kind of thing I think will fuck me up more than anything else, where I'm going to be like, I want that to be an option that I can change, because I can definitely imagine wanting to use a different... She shouldn't do this. I can easily imagine wanting to use a different orb and then, like, accidentally throwing the wrong one out because I was holding down a beam. So it's not really a tip or anything. It's just, like, you should know it works this way, because otherwise, like, you're going to be like, why did that orb come out? I didn't want that. That's how it works. So, I am actually planning to be relatively professional in the next couple of days and, like, make an Anna guide. So, like... This is kind of, I guess this is kind of it, because, like, you know, oh, we got shot out of nowhere by that. You know, he's playing Hanzo, happens. Look around more, maybe it doesn't happen. Throw a damage orb up into that kind of room. Ooh, he's sad about that one. Yeah, I'm planning to make, like, a guide in the next... This is also an okay use of it, like, someone in the distance needs healing. You can't get there that quickly, the orb travels faster than you. So, if you need to heal somebody really urgently in the distance, you can throw the orb at them, and that might reach them. That's, like, okay, an okay time to use the healing orb as well. But, like, 85% of the situations you want to be using the damage orb, basically. So now we're kind of having a team fight, so we decide that we're going to use Coalescence. It turns out the team fight was a lot tamer than we actually thought it was at the time. Because if we look at the kill feed right now, Winston and Tracer are already dead. We just lost our Widowmaker, whatever. Then Doomfist is dead. They're missing 3 people right now, and we use Coalescence. This is a fight we've already won, because half of them are already dead, so we don't need to use Coalescence right now, because half their team is dead. Shouldn't be an issue shouldn't need to use Coalescence to kill the other half of the team. So we could have saved that. It does charge, like, really fucking fast, so it's not, like, super punishing to misuse it, but yeah, like, we didn't need to use Coalescence right there. Which was probably very apparent, because, like, you probably used it and then went, oh fuck, like, nothing's actually happening right now. Don't expect, like, high production quality out of this guide, because, like, that's not my thing. It's not gonna be, like, super... That's the thing with, like, hero guide. This is gonna be, like, a rant, suddenly. Most hero guides that I've seen have just been, like, okay, it's just like a 7-minute video, and 5 minutes of it is them reading the stat block of the hero to you. And then, like, they give you, like, 2 tips, like, right at the end of the, like, right at the end, like, 2, 3 tips. Fucking waste of time. Like, honestly, like, It's gonna be like, I'm gonna sit here, like, I'm gonna probably, like, record a couple of games of me playing Moira, and I'm gonna play those in the background, and I'm gonna talk to you about Moira for, like, 20 minutes. And I'm not gonna explain what any of the abilities do, I'm gonna assume you know what all her buttons do, and I'm just gonna tell you how to use Moira in, like, practical terms. That's, like, what's gonna happen. Don't expect, like, high production quality. Like, all the fucking, like, high production quality fucking guides that I've seen for, like, heroes are, like, honestly complete waste of time, because it's just, like, really well edited, but like 5 minutes of really well edited video, but then it's just like them saying nothing actually helpful to you. So, we're having a team fight right now, like Coalescence is charging really quickly right there, so they're not really like executing this fight very well, and like none of them really tried to kill us, so we can just kind of like float around in the middle. Like the Doomfist tried to drop on us, but like Doomfist never ever kills a Moira. Like, it is impossible. There's no way Doomfist ults a Moira and she doesn't just fade out of it. Like, there's no way. As if Doomfist wasn't bad enough already. So we didn't need to use Coalescence here for the same reason as before, that the team fight is already won by that point. Like, we'd have killed both their tanks, like, half their team was dead, like, it was not gonna be a big issue. Again, like, in this video, we throw out a lot of healing orbs, like, we should just be throwing out a lot of damage orbs, and, like, on cooldown, just throw a damage orb in there, because, like, you want to be throwing these damage orbs out as quickly as possible so that you can be building up your ultimate as quickly as possible. Because, like, if you can use Coalescence, like, fucking 6-7 times during a game, fucking hell, you're gonna win the game. Like, Coalescence is really strong, and it charges really fast. That might also get nerfed. They might nerf the charge rate on her ultimate, because you can charge it really fast if you're throwing that damage orbs out, like, regularly. So it's like, every 10 seconds, like, a 10% ult charge, basically. Like, it's crazy. Plus all the other damage you're doing in between, and all the healing. Here, we fade. Yep, doesn't kill us, great. Tracer's fighting us. Really hard for Tracer to kill Moira as well. This is a situation where you would want to use the healing orb, because you can just bounce it around in this room. We should have thrown the healing orb instead of the damage orb at Tracer, because, like, again, we're in a duel with the Tracer. If we just throw the healing orb out and we're hovering around that, the Tracer, like, is gonna have a lot of trouble killing us through the healing orb and our own healing off of hitting Tracer. So here we start using Coalescence. Most of our team is actually already dead, and Coalescence is not an ultimate that's going to carry you through a team fight by itself. Like, you do need other people around. Unless the enemy team, like, really fucks up, or they're stuck in a graviton, in which case you will just kill them. But, like, you need people around. Like, Coalescence is a bad ultimate to use when you're down, like, a couple of people already. Like, because you're gonna die, actually. Like, it's not impossible to kill a Moira through Coalescence, and you need your team around to really benefit from Coalescence, because it doesn't do, like, it does damage, but it doesn't do enough to just, like, and this person's fucking dead. Like, you do need your team around to actually benefit from Coalescence properly, because it is joint healing and damage. Also, the more divey your team is, the better Coalescence is going to be, because you'll be hitting more people, relatively. It's a bad ultimate to use when you're, like, losing a fight already. Like most support ultimates are, like, even just Orissa's, right? Like, that isn't even a support ultimate, it is a support ultimate, but she isn't, like, a support hero. Like, ultimates, like, any support ultimate, or Orissa's ultimate, using them when you're already losing the fight is not typically very helpful, because not enough people are around to benefit from it. The exception is Mercy, because her ultimate is, now I res 2 people. So, that's not, like, that's fine to use when you're down people. All other support ultimates, like, the less people you have around at the time, the less helpful the support ultimate is. Coalescence is no different, right? Like, it has a damaging component, so it kind of feels like you can get away with it more. It's the same idea. Like, you need your team around to really be able to benefit from Coalescence properly. Using it in the middle of a fight that, like, you've already lost people in is gonna just be, like, worse than most other uses of it. So, we are really low on our resource right now. Like, honestly, I never even look at this gauge when I'm playing Moira, because, like, as long as you're just, like, doing damage regularly, it shouldn't ever really be that much of an issue. It's been an issue for me, like, a couple of times, but, like, I never look at the gauge. Like, as long as you're, like, actively trying to do damage when you can, it's not gonna be an issue for you. So, we did fade forward aggressively while we were at, like, half HP, which is scary because you don't want to die. And if you use your movement to go in, here we're, like, not thinking about the Moira's orb, and we stick with it for a really long time. And, like, right now, like, we're the front line right now, which we don't want to be, as we covered earlier. We want to be with the front line. We don't want to be the front line. We were being the front line. Like, we should back up and, like, help our team, like, kill the Tracer, or, like, wait for them to start moving forward. Like, you don't want to be the front line. You want to be with the front line. You don't want to be the front line. There is a difference. So, we are almost out of time right now. We have Coalescence. Most of our team is actually dead right now, so we're probably not going to get to use a very good Coalescence because game's kind of almost over. So we just kind of start using it, but, like, we're using it on a Junkrat, and then we kind of, like, walk really predictably right in front of the Junkrat, so we just kind of end up getting killed for it. It wasn't great, but, like, realistically, it was never going to be a very good Coalescence because of the way the fight was going up until that point. So, there you have it. So, let's watch the play of the game. It was Tracer. Okay. I don't think she got, like, 3 people with a Pulse Bomb at any point, did she? Oh, no, she did. Not quite. She even sprayed just in case. Just in case. Alright, and then it wasn't very good after that point, but she got 2 people, so she got it. We were on the console, by the way. Consider yourself forewarned at the end of the video that we were on the console today. This has already been I'm looking over there right now, and it's been like 30 minutes already for a 10-minute replay, because a lot of it was actually just kind of talking about Moira, rather than the game. You probably already infer, like, this was already a quick play game, which is hard to pull that much info out of, but from just, like, the incredibly long tangents, you probably got most of the point already, so I'm gonna stop belaboring the point, and we're gonna call it good there. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.